Hagar, the miraculous encounter that revealed God's divine vision and inspiring journey of faith. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, a maidservant named Hagar, an Egyptian woman, dwelled in the tents of Abram and Sarai, within the arid and rugged landscape of Canaan, where the heat struck fierce and the winds carried whispers of unfulfilled promises. The sun poured over the day's work as Hagar moved among the sprawling tents, her heart heavy with the knowledge of Sarai's barren womb. Sarai, aching for children, projected her longings upon Hagar, whose status as a servant both marked her as lowly and yet gave her a connection to the family's most cherished dreams. That in a moment of desperation, Sarai turned to Hagar. "Behold, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Go in unto my servant, it may be that I may obtain children by her." The words hung heavy in the air, blending ambition with a hint of hope. Hagar, compelled to fulfill the role thrust upon her, complied, feeling the weight of Sarai's desires and the sacred promise made to Abram by Yahweh. Once Hagar conceived, pride blossomed within her. She walked with her head held high, yet soon came face to face with the sharp edge of Sarai's resentment. "My wrong be upon you," Sarai lashed out, envy twisting her heart. The love that had once bound them now frayed, and Hagar felt the bloom of contempt. Her spirit, once meek and submissive, battled with newfound pain and agony that would not cease. Feeling cornered by harsh words and the bitterness of her mistress, Hagar fled into the wilderness. Here, amidst the desolation, the sun blazed unforgivingly, taunting her thoughts of survival. The land seemed barren as her heart, echoing the solitude of her predicament. In despair, she stumbled upon a spring, a glimmer of life beckoning amidst her creeping shadows. It was there that the angel of the Lord found her, a radiance enveloping her with hope. "Hagar, servant of Sarai, whence camest thou? Where wilt thou go?" His voice pierced the stillness like the first light of dawn, a reminder that she was seen. In that moment, Hagar fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the gentle urgency of his words. "Return to your mistress and submit," the angel commanded, filling her heart with both trepidation and a flicker of hope. The promise stirred within her once more, "You shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, for the Lord has heard thy affliction." As clarity washed over her, Hagar recognized that her pain was not in vain. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Hagar returned to the tent, bearing news of divine promise and purpose. Yet the years that unfolded were fraught with tension. When Sarai bore Isaac, the joy erupted around the camp, while Hagar stood on the fringes, her heart heavy with jealousy and longing. As time passed, Sarai's heart grew bitter, and the inevitable moment arrived when she demanded that Abram cast out Hagar and Ishmael. "I will not endure this," she asserted, and Hagar, with a heavy heart, found herself cast once more into the wilderness, uncertain of what awaited them in the desolate expanse in the barren land. Hopelessness threatened, especially when Ishmael's thirst became unbearable. Yet, just when her spirit began to falter, the Lord appeared once more. He revealed a well of water, quenching the need of her and her son amidst the chaos. Hagar's faith surged as she recognized God's continual presence in the trials of her journey. Standing on the precipice of uncertainty, she pondered Ishmael's future. A life intertwined with a legacy full of promise and challenge. With the sun setting behind the dunes, casting shadows over her path, Hagar felt the weight of history bearing down on her shoulders, the sacred plan of the Almighty unfolding in ways she could scarcely comprehend. What future awaited her son, and what deeper purpose might God weave through their lives? As the night consumed the day, she held fast to the hope that flickered like stars amidst the vast, dark sky. The days passed in quiet reflection, the wilderness a canvas of solitude upon which Hagar painted her thoughts. Ishmael grew, buoyed by the breath of life, yet the echoes of the camp remained a sharp contrast to their current plight. The child, filled with laughter and innocence, often chased the shadows cast by the setting sun, oblivious to the burdens that clung to his mother's heart like a second skin. As Hagar looked upon Ishmael, a wellspring of affection surged within her. God had heard her affliction and granted her a son, yet the sting of separation from Abram and Sarai pierced deeper than the heat of the desert sun. Each day was marked with both gratitude for Ishmael's life and sorrow for the home left behind. She took refuge in prayer, pouring out her heart to the God who had seen her and spoken kindness into her despair. One day, as they wandered near the well, the sun reached its zenith, bearing down with a relentless glare. Ishmael, fatigued and thirsty, fell into a restless sleep upon the coarse ground. In her spirit, Hagar felt the crushing weight of uncertainty. Would the life given to her son bear any promise? Would God's word hold true that Ishmael would become a great nation? The thought clouded her mind as she turned her eyes to heaven and cried, "O Lord, what is to become of us? You who have seen my sorrow and have whispered hope into my ear, are we now to perish in the wilderness?" Her voice, lifting like incense, reached toward the throne of grace. In her brokenness, she surrendered her fears. The ache of lost dreams was great, yet she clung to the truth of his promise. Then, in that sacred moment, the Lord spoke again, a familiar whisper carried upon the soft wind. "Hagar, fear not, for I have heard the voice of the lad where he is." The words wrapped around her heart with assurance, igniting a flicker of hope. "Lift your eyes and see the well before you, for I shall make a great nation of him." Hagar lifted her gaze, her heart pounding with renewed vigor. The well, hidden by the thorny brush, shimmered as if crowned by the sunlight's embrace. She rushed forward, filling her vessel with cool water, the life-giving liquid spilling in abundance, reflecting the mercy of her Maker. She returned to Ishmael, rousing him with gentle hands, and with each drop they drank, the promise of survival seemed to echo in the heavens. Days turned into weeks, and Hagar began to carve out a life anew in the wilderness. They pitched a humble tent, and with her hands, she fashioned a cradle of reeds for Ishmael, enveloping him in love. Under the canopy of stars that blanketed the night sky, she recounted the tale of their journey, of how God had intervened amid despair, and how his faithfulness illuminated their path. Then one morning, as the sun broke over the horizon, Hagar received an unexpected visitor. A figure clad in brilliance approached them, a messenger sent from the Almighty. "Hagar, God's purpose for your son will stretch far beyond what you could envision. For he is destined to be a father of nations, his descendants numbering like the stars." A revelation washed over her, a divine tapestry unfolding before her eyes. Ishmael, her child of promise and pain, was part of a greater story, a thread woven into the fabric of God's grand design. Yet even amidst this wondrous news, she was filled with a sense of awe and trepidation. How could such a fate belong to her and her son? As the messenger departed, Hagar remained rooted in place, her heart racing with love and dread. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery, yet she could feel the weight of God's sovereign plan, a celestial design that beckoned her toward trust and surrender. What new trials would await her and Ishmael on this journey? Would their destinies intertwine with those of others chosen by God's hand? As the dawn heralded a new chapter, Hagar stood resolute, praying that within the unfolding of God's promise lay answers yet to be revealed, a reminder that the Lord's plans far exceed human understanding, and that he remains ever faithful to the least among his creation. As the days unfurled like the delicate petals of a desert flower, Hagar and Ishmael continued to navigate the wilderness, their bond strengthened by the shared trials of their new life. The sun traversed the heavens, painting the landscape in strokes of gold and ochre, and with each passing moment, Hagar's heart swelled with the knowledge of God's promise. Though the weight of past sorrows remained, hope burgeoned within her spirit. One fateful afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting elongated shadows across the terrain, Hagar felt an unusual stirring in her heart. The air was thick with anticipation, a prelude to a divine encounter. As she gathered wild grains, a rustle stirred in the foliage nearby. Her heart quickened, and with cautious steps, she approached the source of the sound. Behold, a group of travelers emerged, weary and worn but with resolve etched upon their faces. Hagar's breath caught in her throat as one of them stepped forward, a man of stature, with eyes that seemed to shimmer like the night sky sprinkled with stars. His presence commanded respect, yet his demeanor radiated kindness and understanding. "Mother of Ishmael," he spoke, and the warmth in his voice disarmed her. "We have journeyed far, following whispers of a promise made. The Lord is directing our steps to those whom he has set apart." Hagar's mind raced. Who were these people? Was this visit a mere coincidence, or was it orchestrated by the Almighty? "What do you seek?" Her voice trembled, laced with both anxiety and longing. "The child for whom you pray," the traveler replied, "is not merely a boy in the wilderness but a wellspring of hope for nations yet to come. We bear tidings of the covenant that stretches beyond the horizon." With trembling hands, Hagar invited them to share their story, the spirit of curiosity ascending over her doubts. The travelers settled beneath the shade of an ancient acacia, and with each word, they wove a narrative steeped in prophecy and divine orchestration. "Behold," the leader of the group continued, "though you see only yesterday and today, the Lord sees generations. Ishmael shall not walk alone, he shall have descendants who will rise and tread the earth, wielding strength like that of a wild donkey, and forever his hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him." As the words of prophecy resonated in her ears, Hagar's heart leapt. The Lord's assurance flowed over her like the cool waters of the well, a promise echoing the very essence of God's sovereign plan. A reminder that her son was indeed destined for greatness, a lineage that would span the ages. Yet within her tumultuous emotions, apprehension lingered. What of the future? Will they accept him? Can their hearts be open to acknowledge the one born of my pain? With solemn certainty, the traveler leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "Fear not, for the Lord will raise up a mighty hand to bless him. He shall be among the nations, a testimony of God's grace, and the world shall know him." The sun began to set, casting a radiant glow upon the travelers. Hagar felt the weight of their presence and the truth they carried. As the sky deepened towards twilight, she found herself enveloped in a profound understanding of her purpose. "May my heart be steadfast in trust," she murmured, embracing the reality that she was a vessel of God's purpose. The leader rose to leave, but before departing, he imparted one last message. "Remember, Hagar, the threads of destiny are often woven in ways unseen, for even now, God is at work, preparing a way for those who will claim the promises of the covenant." As they vanished into the shadows, Hagar knelt by Ishmael, her heart ablaze with awe. The tapestry of her life was interlaced with the eternal, calling her to a faith anchored in hope. What did the future hold for them? Would the vision of God's promise manifest, intertwining their story with others who would come to know his faithfulness? As the stars began to dot the sky, Hagar offered a silent prayer, aware that the echoes of God's sovereign plan danced on the edge of destiny, waiting for the appointed time to unfold. As dawn broke over the horizon, its light casting a warm glow upon the rugged terrain, Hagar awoke with the sun's gentle rays caressing her face. The night had been filled with dreams, visions of her son laughing and playing among countless children, their laughter echoing against the vast emptiness of the wilderness. In these dreams, she sensed the dreams of her own heart merging with the divine promise spoken by the travelers. With renewed vigor, she faced the day, gathering sustenance for the journey that lay ahead. Ishmael, still slumbering, radiated peace in his rest, a blessing she had come to treasure amidst their trials. As she worked, the words of the traveler lingered in her mind, painting vivid pictures of hope and a future unforeseen. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the landscape, stirring the dry leaves and causing Hagar to pause. The air vibrated with a sense of urgency. As if echoing the very heartbeat of creation, she felt the presence of the Lord permeate the atmosphere. Her heart raced with anticipation, and she fell to her knees in humble adoration, seeking a clearer revelation of what was to come. In that moment of quiet surrender, she heard a voice, resonant and clear, woven through the whispers of the breeze. "Hagar, arise. Your journey is but beginning. I have set my eye upon Ishmael, his path shall lead to greatness. For though he walks in the wilderness now, the wilderness shall not consume him, rather, it shall be the place of his fortification." Hagar's spirit soared at this promise. The wilderness had been her crucible, but the thought of Ishmael's destiny ignited a fierce determination within her. As she looked up, she noticed a figure approaching from the distant dunes, a solitary man, clad in robes of white, walking steadily towards her. His presence emitted a divine aura, and Hagar felt compelled to rise and greet him. The man's eyes, like twin pools of celestial fire, met hers with profound compassion. "Do not be afraid, Hagar," he spoke, his voice like the sound of thunder softened by the whisper of rain. "I am a messenger of the Lord, sent to confirm the promise and guide you farther into his will." Trembling yet unyielding, she asked, "What of my son? What is to become of him?" The messenger smiled gently. "Ishmael shall be a great nation, and I tell you this, the Lord will not only bless him but will also bless you, for you have walked faithfully in adversity. In due time, he shall stand before kings, and his name will be remembered among the peoples of the earth." "But what should I do now?" Hagar whispered, her spirit wrestling between fear and faith. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart," he replied. "Seek him with earnest prayer. The path will not always be clear, but the Lord will guide your steps. You are part of a divine tapestry, woven into his sovereign plan. Now, rise and return to your son. For the time of fulfillment draws near." As he spoke, a spark illuminated the very air around her. Hagar felt an overwhelming surge of hope, a quickening of her very essence, and with great fervor, she believed anew in the promises of God. The messenger gestured toward the sky, the sun climbing higher, its light dispersing shadows of doubt. "Behold, the time has come when nations shall marvel at the unfolding of his plan, and your tears shall be transformed into joy." With that, the figure began to fade, but before he vanished entirely, he breathed a final revelation into the wind. "Know this, Ishmael's name will echo through the ages, not just as a child of the wilderness, but as the harbinger of a coming hope, for unseen destinies await their time." Hagar, emboldened and invigorated, turned toward Ishmael. With unshakable faith, she realized the journey ahead was not merely one of survival in the desert, but a profound calling woven into the greater purpose of God. What awaited them on this path, she could not yet fathom, but she understood that the Lord's story was just beginning to be unveiled, intricately linked to promises far beyond her current understanding. As the sun blazed overhead, Hagar embraced Ishmael, whispering the truth of God's faithfulness as they embarked on the next chapter of their divine journey. Hagar rose from her knees, her heart ablaze with renewed strength and purpose. She turned toward Ishmael, the child of promise who lay sleeping near her. The sun's rays illuminated his features, and in that moment, she beheld the beauty of the future God had prepared for them. "Awake, my son," she called softly, brushing her fingers through his hair. The boy stirred, his eyelids flickering open to meet the light of a new day. As he sat up, she embraced him tightly, her heart overflowing with joy and expectancy. "Today, we embark on a journey of purpose," she declared, her voice full of fervor. "The Lord has spoken to me, and his promise will guide us." Ishmael, sensing the power of her words, grinned, his youthful innocence shining like the morning sun. As they packed their meager belongings, Hagar recalled the words of the messenger. "He shall be a great nation," she whispered to herself, grasping the weight of that destiny. Together, mother and son set forth, the wilderness stretching before them, yet filled with the unseen paths that God would lead them upon. Hours turned to days as they traversed the dry, arid regions. The sun blazed overhead by day, and the stars twinkled like divine promises by night. Each step was a mix of hardship and revelation, as Hagar poured out her heart in prayer, her cries reaching the heavens. One evening, as dusk painted the sky crimson, Hagar found an oasis. The water glistened like precious jewels against the backdrop of the desert, and her heart leapt with gratitude. She knelt beside it, cupping the refreshing liquid in her hands, and offered praise to the Lord. "You provide, O God. Your faithfulness sustains us." As they rested, Hagar observed Ishmael splash joyfully in the water, laughter ringing out sweetly amid the stillness of the desert. This moment, though simple, was profound. It was a glimpse of the future promised nations and kings. Her faith deepened as she witnessed the joy of her child. The next morning, as the sun illuminated the sky, a rustling in the thicket caught Hagar's ear. She turned, her heart quickening, and saw a caravan approaching. Fear mingled with hope. Could they bring news of safety or aid? The travelers, clad in bright garments and riding sturdy camels, drew near. Their leader, a man of wisdom and importance, dismounted and approached her with respect, recognizing her weary state. "Who are you, and why do you dwell in this desolate place?" Hagar, emboldened by the Lord's promise, spoke with clarity, "I am Hagar, servant of Sarai, and this is my son, Ishmael. We journey in search of the destiny foretold by the Lord." The man's eyes widened in surprise, and he knelt before Ishmael, an indication of reverence. "A child of greatness," he proclaimed. "Word has spread of a mighty nation to arise from the wilderness. You and your son are destined for honor." Their words ignited Hagar's spirit, weaving the threads of the messenger's words into her heart. "The time of fulfillment draws near," she murmured as they continued their conversation, drawing strength from mutual faith, but as the daylight turned to dusk, Hagar felt compelled to seek a deeper understanding of the plans laid before them. She bowed in prayer beneath the sprawling stars, asking the Lord for clarity. "What more must we do, O Lord? Show us the way." Within the stillness of the night, a voice echoed within her spirit, gentle yet firm. "Hagar, trust in my unfolding plan. The path ahead will be fraught with challenges, but from these trials shall come great promises fulfilled." Eager anticipation filled her heart as she rose to her feet. She turned to Ishmael, who gazed at the starry sky, a reflection of the uncharted future that awaited them. Hagar squeezed his hand tightly, an unyielding bond of faith. As they prepared to continue their journey at the break of dawn, she realized that each step they took was but a part of a larger story, a story that would impact generations to come. What awaited them in the wilderness was still unknown, but one thing was certain: the pages of God's divine plan were being written, and she and her son were integral to its revelation. "Behold," she whispered, "the unfolding of destiny is upon us." As light broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the sands, Hagar gathered her belongings with renewed vigor. The morning dew still clung to the leaves, and she breathed deeply, allowing the coolness to fill her lungs. They resumed their journey amidst the bristling heat, with the promise of days ahead nesting in her spirit. After several days of travel, the weary travelers found themselves at the edge of a forsaken land. The terrain was rugged, dotted with thorny bushes and dry shrubs that clawed at their clothes. Ishmael, ever curious, explored the area, his laughter a melody that danced upon the air, yet Hagar's heart was troubled. The vision of nations and kings was beautifully daunting, and she sought the Lord in her heart once more. "O Lord, our guide," she prayed fervently, her words quivering with the weight of her worry. "Show us mercy in this barren land. Grant us favor, for you alone know the paths we must tread." That night, as they lay beneath a vast canopy of stars, Hagar heard the faint sound of footsteps approaching. Her body tensed, and she stirred Ishmael awake. "Stay close, my son," she whispered, her voice tinged with fear and wonder. From the darkness, a figure emerged, shrouded in shadows yet aflame with an otherworldly light. "Fear not, Hagar," the figure spoke with clarity and warmth that enveloped her like a mantle. "I have come as a messenger from the Lord. He has seen your trials and your faith." Hagar's heart pounded with a mix of reverence and awe. "Who are you, and what is your message?" "I am a servant of the Most High, sent to assure you of his promise," the figure replied, stepping closer. "Your son Ishmael shall indeed become a great nation. From him shall rise leaders, and the whole earth will witness the tapestry of God's grace." Hagar trembled, the weight of the divine promise entwining in her soul like roots spreading deep into firm soil. "But, O Lord, what shall we endure in the meantime? The wilderness is harsh, and our needs are great." "In your trials you shall find strength," the messenger responded, his voice echoing with authority. "Your journey will lead you through fire and storm, but like the refining gold, you shall be made even more precious. Trust in his timing, for the Lord shall not forsake you." As he spoke, the air seemed to shimmer with divine energy, illuminating Hagar's understanding. Her doubts were washed away in the waves of truth he delivered. She understood then that her son's future was anchored in the covenant of God, a testament not just for her or Ishmael, but for generations. "Thank you, Lord," she exclaimed, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Give me the strength to endure." The celestial figure nodded, an expression of solidarity crossing his face. "Lean upon the everlasting arms. Your labor will not be in vain. Next, you shall encounter a people prepared by the Lord. They will welcome you, though it is not yet your time to reside among them." The stars shifted in the sky, and with a flash of light, the messenger disappeared, leaving Hagar and Ishmael bathed in the glow of the promise. In the days that followed, a fresh resolve took root within Hagar. They would continue their journey, guided by divine purpose and encouraged by the words of the heavenly envoy. Every step she took echoed with confidence, bolstering her faith, but as their path unfurled before them, she could not shake the feeling that another challenge lay ahead, a test that would require all her courage. "What shall come of us, O Lord?" she reflected quietly. "What more must we endure for the sake of your name?" Thus, their journey commenced anew, leading toward the unknown with a holy anticipation that quickened Hagar's heart. "For your plans, O God, are good," she whispered. "They are higher than we can see." Little did she know, the unfolding of God's plan was yet to intertwine their fates with others, setting the stage for a legacy far grander than she could imagine. And so, she breathed out into the night air, her voice laced with both fear and faith. The dawn of destiny draws ever closer. As the days passed, Hagar and Ishmael traversed the harsh expanse of wilderness, their faith continuously tested against the backdrop of the lingering heat and desolation. The sun beat down upon them with relentless intensity, and though Hagar had been fortified by the angel's promise, her body grew weary, and her heart filled with concern. One evening, as the shadows lengthened and the air cooled, she settled Ishmael down to rest. "You must save your strength, my son," she murmured, brushing the dirt from his forehead, the weight of her concerns pressing heavily upon her. She looked to the horizon, her eyes wandering among the peaks that stood like sentinels against a fading sky. "How long until we find a place of shelter, O Lord?" she whispered. In the silent stillness, Hagar felt a stirring in her spirit, akin to a gentle breeze tracing her skin, and she recalled the words of the celestial messenger. "In your trials, you shall find strength." She resolved to trust, yet the gnawing fear of survival loomed large. Spurred by her faith, she retreated into quietude, praying earnestly for sustenance and direction. Then, in the still of the night, as darkness settled like a shroud, a new sound echoed through the air, a faint trickle, like water dancing over stones. Hagar, with renewed hope, rose swiftly, her heart racing in anticipation. Could it be? She uttered softly, hurrying toward the source of the sound. As she approached, her heart leapt. It was a wellspring, glimmering as it caught the silver slivers of moonlight. Hagar dropped to her knees, cupping her hands and drinking deeply of the cool, refreshing water. "Praise be to the Lord!" she cried out, joyfully lifted by the realization that he heard her cries. Refreshing her son, she filled their small vessel and looked toward the open sky. "You have provided for us once more." Refreshed and renewed, they continued onward, and soon came upon a small encampment, a transient gathering of travelers who welcomed them warmly. Hagar, filled with the spirit of hospitality as she had witnessed in her past, shared her bounty of water and earned their trust. They were a people of the desert, skilled in the ways of survival and nurtured by the blessings of the land. As they shared stories around the fire, a wizened elder approached Hagar with eyes that bore the wisdom of many seasons. "You come from afar, and your spirit glows with purpose," he said, his voice steady and profound. "Tell me, what fortune do you seek in this wilderness?" Hagar paused, letting the weight of his question settle. "I am my son Ishmael's mother, and we seek neither fortune nor fame, but the fulfillment of a promise spoken to me by an emissary of the Lord," she replied. "He told me that my son shall become a great nation." The elder nodded knowingly, a glimmer of recognition sparking in his eyes. "Even the fiercest winds do not blow unnoticed, young mother. The promise carries heavy expectations. Yet, it is also a blessing wrapped in trials. Hagar felt a wave of understanding wash over her. What must I do to prepare us for the path ahead? She implored. Be vigilant, he instructed, for destiny calls softly but requires a heart attuned to its whispers. Teach your son courage and wisdom, for the future holds shadows that may seek to overshadow the light of his lineage. Night fell deeper, and the words of the elder echoed in Hagar's mind as she lay beside Ishmael, her heart flickering with both dread and hope. The future, though uncertain, glimmered with the promise of God's assurances. Hers was a path toward which both she and her son would stride, but unbeknownst to Hagar, the current of God's sovereign plan was moving beyond her field of vision, as realms intertwined in ways she could scarcely begin to comprehend. The destiny of her son had already begun to affect the world beyond their immediate plight, setting the stage for encounters yet unseen. And so it was, Hagar whispered to herself beneath the starlit sky, that one woman's faith would ripple through the sands of time, intertwining destinies undescribed yet to be revealed. As dawn broke over the arid landscape, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, Hagar stirred from her slumber, her heart beating in rhythm with the pulse of the land. She looked down at Ishmael, whose face was lit by the soft glow of morning light. A sense of urgency welled within her. She had been given a promise, yet the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty and peril. The elder's words echoed, "Be vigilant." Gathering her resolve, Hagar set about preparing for the day. She rose, dusting off the remnants of the night from her clothing. "Come, my son," she gently urged, waking Ishmael with a tender smile. "We must continue on our journey and seek the path God has set before us." They bid farewell to the kind travelers who had shared their hearth and food, receiving blessings and well-wishes that wrap around them like a protective covering. Hagar clasped the hand of the elder one last time. "May God's eyes be upon you and your son," he said, his gaze laden with depth. "Seek out the ways of the Lord, for they are paths of wisdom." With renewed purpose, they ventured deeper into the wilderness, moving with a steadiness born from divine assurance. As they traveled, Hagar recalled the promise, a promise that cast shadows of greatness upon her heart, yet also seeded unease. Perhaps destiny would require sacrifices, the weight of expectation hung heavy. A few days passed with scarce food and wearied bodies. In that moment of vulnerability, they reached a rocky outcrop that provided shade from the relentless sun. Hagar settled Ishmael against the cool stones, brushing aside her own fatigue to nurture her son's spirit. "The Lord shall provide," she whispered softly, echoing her faith into the air, though her own heart secretly trembled. As she sat there, deep in prayer, the wind picked up, swirling around her as if preparing for something grand. The leaves rustled with urgency, beckoning Hagar's spirit to rise and listen. And then, from the depths of the wilderness, she heard a sound, a rustling of bushes nearby. Her body tensed, and she stood attentively. "What manner of being approaches?" she asked aloud, half in fear and half in curiosity. The underbrush parted slowly, revealing a figure cloaked in linen, radiant as the midday sun. "Fear not, Hagar," the figure said, a voice resonating with authority and gentleness. "I am sent from the presence of the Almighty, to remind you of His covenant and declare the continuing work of His hand upon your life." Hagar's heart raced. "You have come to remind me. But the road is paved with trials, and I have doubts. Where must I go now?" The figure stepped closer, and a light emanated from him, casting away the shadows of despair. "Do not doubt, for the time is ripe for your son Ishmael. He shall indeed become a great nation, for I will make him fruitful. His lineage shall multiply across the earth." In that moment, clarity enveloped her spirit as the weight of her trials began to dissipate. "But how can this be so?" she stammered, awe rising within her as she regarded the messenger. "Will not my son suffer in a land unfamiliar?" "Trust," the voice commanded gently, "for beyond these trials lie foundations not yet seen. As Hagar, you shall not only be a mother to Ishmael but a mother of destinies untold. The story of your people will weave into that of many, bringing strength where weak hands falter." As the figure faded into the brightness of the day, Hagar fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the divine calling laid before her. Each moment she had feared would drive her to despair now bubbled with the promise of hope, yet, as she looked towards Ishmael, who played by the stones, a new question ignited her breast. What more was to unfold through this union of faith amid uncertainty? She felt the stirring of prophetic influence echoing in her soul, wondering how her story would intertwine with the great designs of God, and as she whispered her questions into the air, she was left with the undeniable truth: God was crafting a narrative through her life, surpassing anything she could imagine. What lies beyond, O Lord? What greater purpose awaits? And as the sun began its ascent, casting golden rays over the barren expanse, Hagar gathered her strength, rising from her knees. She looked at Ishmael, who laughed in innocence. In that laughter, she found a glimmer of the promise, a reminder that hope breathed in the heart of her child. "Come, my son," she called gently, embracing his small frame. "Our feet shall find purpose in this wilderness, guided by the hand of the Almighty." They continued their journey, at times traversing rugged terrain, at other moments crossing winding trails that seemed to stretch endlessly. Hagar's resolve deepened with each step, yet the pangs of hunger gnawed at them fiercely. As the day wore on, the burning sun draped them in weariness. "Mother, I am thirsty," Ishmael's voice broke the silence, a thread woven with both urgency and childlike innocence. Hagar's heart tightened, the ache within her rising like a tide. She paused and crouched beside him, her hands cradling his face with tender care. "Fear not, my son, the Lord shall provide," she whispered, recalling the promise spoken to her by the messenger. They pressed on until the horizon surrendered a glimpse of lush greenery, a fertile oasis nestled among the sand. Hagar's heart leapt, and with renewed vigor, they raced towards that life-giving promise. But as they approached, the gleam of hope was dimmed by the sight of the water, muddy and unclear. "Is this the water that the Lord has provided for us?" she murmured uncertainly, glancing at Ishmael, who gazed back with innocent trust. As he knelt beside the pool, cupping the water in his hands, Hagar placed her hand upon him. "Drink, my child, for even in barrenness, we must trust in the abundance of the Lord." Yet, even as he drank, Hagar's mind stirred with the heaviness of their plight. Would they truly thrive in this land? The promise felt like a tapestry still being woven, the threads yet to connect in the full picture. In the quiet of her uncertainty, she spoke to God, lifting her fears to the heavens. "Lord, sustain us, guide us, and reveal the purpose of this struggle. Why have we journeyed into this desolate land?" The heavens responded with silence, yet in her heart, Hagar sensed reassurance. Just as the sun dipped lower, bathing the world in twilight hues, the earth beneath her seemed to pulse with life, reminding her that every seed begins its life in darkness before breaking through to light. As they rested in the shade of a grove, Ishmael fell fast asleep, and Hagar reclined against the cool earth, her heart mingling hope with trepidation. She closed her eyes, yearning for a vision, a dream that might unlock the future. Suddenly, the air thrummed vibrantly, and before her, the same figure appeared once again, clothed in luminous linen. "Hagar, mother of nations," he intoned, his voice weaving through the very fabric of the air, stirring her soul to wakefulness. "The Lord hears your cries. He knows the path ahead, for he has prepared a place for you and your son." Hagar's heart soared and trembled all at once. "What shall we do, O messenger? The road is fraught with danger, and my heart falters." "Fear not," he replied, "for Ishmael will grow strong, and his hand shall be against every man. You will be preserved, and in your lineage, the nations will find strength. A great deliverance is coming, beyond the strife of the present. Seek your place in his promise." As he spoke, the horizon shifted, shadows casting before her like whispers of destiny. The messenger faded, leaving Hagar with a renewed spirit, a flicker of divine hope igniting within her. What roots would Ishmael establish in this unforgiving landscape? What nations would rise and fall through his lineage? Hagar pondered these mysteries, aware that the Almighty was painting a canvas too grand for her to fathom. Thus, as night fell, she clung to a fragile, yet radiant hope, and whispered fervently, "O Lord, reveal to me the greater designs you hold for us, for I am but a vessel of your choosing, anxiously awaiting your unfolding truth." As the dawn of a new day graced the barren landscape, Hagar stirred from her slumber, her heart beating in rhythm with the promise coursing through her veins. The air was rich with anticipation, she sensed that each moment held the weight of divine intention. She gazed upon Ishmael, still nestled in the embrace of dream, and a profound peace washed over her. He was no ordinary child, he was the embodiment of a promise, the vessel of God's covenant extending into generations. Rising with purpose, she knelt by the well, the water shimmering under the rays of the sun. "O Lord," she prayed fervently, "in the face of uncertainty, let my trust in your promises be unwavering. Show us the path we must take." As the winds danced through the palm trees, she felt an unseen presence enveloping her heart, reminding her that the Lord had not forsaken her. That day, they journeyed deeper into the wilderness, and with each step, Hagar's heart filled with strengthening clarity. Memories of the angel who first revealed God's purpose flooded her mind. "You shall call his name Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your affliction." With every passing moment, the words rang true, echoing a promise of hope interwoven with trials. As they traversed rocky paths, a glimmer caught her eye. Emerging from behind an outcropping, a caravan appeared, their faces radiant with joy, their laughter reaching out like the sweet scent of blooming flowers in arid soil. Hagar's heart raced. These were not mere travelers but a destined connection rooted in the divine. Recognizing a leader among them, she approached with humility and hope. "Mother of Ishmael, we have come seeking you," he greeted, the warmth of his voice wrapping around her like the embrace of a long-lost friend. "The winds have whispered of a great nation that shall rise from this wilderness, and we seek the child of promise." Hagar knelt before the leader, her breath caught in awe. The very fabric of God's plan was unfolding before her eyes. "We journey with him," she whispered, her heart surrendering to the glorious possibility of fulfilled promises. "For Ishmael is destined for greatness." Then, the caravan began to share the tales of nations forged through trials, where hope emerged from despair, weaving the legacies of families into the intertwining tapestry of God's redemptive work. The joy found in their stories ignited something deep within her. It was a connection to the greater narrative of faith unfolding through both struggle and triumph. "Ishmael shall not walk alone," the leader proclaimed, his eyes shining with fervor. "We are called to stand together, to encourage each other as the fabric of our destinies intertwines." Overwhelmed by such affirmations, Hagar clutched Ishmael tightly, feeling the weight of all she had endured transform into a power that invigorated her very spirit. The wilderness had been a crucible, yet in that moment, it became a sanctuary where dreams and promises converged. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over their gathering, Hagar shared her journey, recounting how God had seen her in her affliction and spoken hope into her life. The travelers listened intently, their hearts drawn together in mutual faith and expectation. A great celebration unfolded around the fire, filled with laughter and fellowship, voices rising in songs of gratitude to the Almighty. Hagar felt herself transformed, the burdens of loneliness altered into blooming friendships, woven together by trust in the divine. Yet, as the stars shimmered in the vast expanse above, a deeper understanding settled upon her. She knew her role was not just a mother but a catalyst through whom God's purposes would reverberate across time. Ishmael's laughter rang like the song of a future yet unwritten, a testament to the God who fulfills every promise. The next morning, Hagar awoke with renewed determination. "Today is the day," she declared, gathering Ishmael close before the caravan began its march. "We shall carry forth the light of his promise." Together with the travelers, they set forth, hearts unwavering as they traversed the landscape that had once defined their despair. Now, it was a vibrant path of newfound hope, brightened by the faces of those who walked beside them. Each beat of Hagar's heart echoed the rhythm of a promise fulfilled. The wilderness, no longer a barren wasteland, transformed into a canvas where the vast palette of God's faithfulness cradled them. Nations and leaders awaited, drawn by the promise established long before in the heavens. Hand in hand, Hagar and Ishmael moved forward, aligned with a destiny unfolding seamlessly like quilted fabric, beautifully complex yet undeniably divinely destined. And with every stride she took, Hagar whispered into eternity the truth of their journey, embracing faith that not only sustained them but became a beacon for all those who would come after. O Lord, thank you for hearing my cries. Thank you for crafting a great nation from the heart of my pain, she declared, her spirit ablaze with the truth of God's sovereign grace. In that moment, Hagar grasped the culmination of her faith, that even in what seemed hopeless, God's power is perfected, and his promises invariably come to fruition through those who trust him. Believe, dear reader, for you too are woven into the divine tapestry. As you navigate your own wilderness, remember to trust in God's unfolding plan for your life, for his promises echo through generations. If this powerful testament has touched your heart, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. Leave a like now to help spread God's message of hope and faith through the algorithm. Comment your reflections and how this story of Hagar has impacted your journey of faith, and share instantly this powerful story with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. Don't wait even one more second to be a part of spreading biblical truth that can change lives forever.